the process was for you this morning?
The process was pretty smooth. I was elected number 149 in my station, and for a rural area like Speyside, that is pretty high at this time of the day. Usually we will get a surge in the late afternoon hours, but it meant that we had quite a number of voters early this morning, and that's 149 in the polling division that I voted in, because this station carries 2 divisions as it is.
Any hiccups this morning? I understand there were some issues.
Yes, there were issues in the west. The process for appointing sub-agents is one where the party, by way of letter to EBC, will list and appoint those sub-agents 5 days prior. We in fact did that. Sub-agents are the ones that replaces polling agents in the polling station to observe on behalf of the party. So for example, if a polling agent needs to use the washroom, or to eat, or to take a walk, or to relieve themselves, or if they are late, a sub-agent can act on their behalf. Despite doing that, today our sub-agents were not allowed access to the station. And so we had to call Mr. Parisian out, because we did what was required based on the regulations and the law, and there's absolutely no reason why our sub-agents were not allowed inside. That's unacceptable, and I think that's something EBC will have to look at in the post-mortem of the events, because it is critical. It meant that in a few areas we weren't able to witness the opening of the ballot boxes this morning and the envelopes in time, because sub-agents were there, the polling agents were not there. We could not get the sub-agents inside because EBC did not do the necessary in informing the presiding officers at the polling stations that these were in fact our duly appointed sub-agents. So that's unfortunate, but since that transpired, we have in fact been having smooth operations generally, and across the island I think we're seeing a smooth flow. It would appear as though nationally we will have a high voter turnout in this election. I didn't think that was what would happen initially, because the initial days post the calling of the election were pretty quiet and mild, but certainly we are experiencing generally a higher turnout, and if that continues during the day, it means that we could look at numbers that might be more consistent with a THA election than a general election. As you would know, Tobagonians tend to vote in larger numbers for the THA than the general. We look as though we will have a high turnout today.
So Chief, we're hearing reports about salt at polling stations. Have you heard those reports, and what do you think about that?
I've heard the reports. I've seen some photos, and you know, I laughed when I looked at it. I really don't operate in the politics of superstition, and yes, we may in a very jocular manner talk about people use of quote unquote obia for elections and so on, and usually we just do that in a very jocular way, but I don't concern myself with those things really, because I operate on the basis of strong faith in God. And I believe God has brought me and my party to this place, and God will take us to the next level. So I don't worry too much about those things. It's believing in folkloric traditions of Tobago that salt somehow cuts witchcraft. So I guess if salt was poured and salt in fact cuts witchcraft, then it's all our benefit. Not so.
Do you think that it could be chalked up to voter intimidation?
It can be, because in a society as ours, there remains, you know, a real fear that people might have about these superstitious things, about these things that they can't explain, about the supernatural, and it's just unfortunate that in 2025 that we're still operating on that wavelength for a modern society. You know, just unfortunate, but it is what it is, and perhaps for us as politicians, we probably need to stop making jokes about go beyond politics because people perhaps really do take it seriously.
What's your plan for the rest of the day?
Right, so the rest of the day I am going to continue around here. Blessings, brother. I'm going to continue around north side because I did the east coming up. I will go to Charlottesville and around to Lansome down to the north side quite quickly, and then touch base part of the west to see how they're doing. So my job today is just to touch base with all of our workers, make sure they're good, make sure they're being fed, that